Open world games are a huge part of the gaming industry right now. But what are the best of the best? Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. And today we're going to be talking about what I think are the 10 best open world games available for the PS5 in 2025. Right now. So you let me know what you think the best open world games are out right now. Drop a like on the video. And let's start off at number 10 with a game that I honestly said was dead on arrival. Sea of Thieves. It was released back in 2018 for the Xbox One and the PC, and it was ripped apart by critics and gamers alike, including myself, because there was no content. It was a painfully boring gameplay loop. But over the next few years, Microsoft poured tons of money into free updates and patches to make it into the game it should have been on day one. If you boot it up right now, you are treated to a super fun and unique pirate experience. Sea of Thieves lets you make your own ship, your own crew. You sail the seven seas, completing objectives, finding treasure, interacting with NPCs at various ports, and doing basically everything you think of when you think of pirates. It was ported into the PS5 in April of last year, and it's been a huge hit on the platform, which is awesome to see. So if you've been looking for a unique pirate-themed game, or maybe something cool to play with your friends, maybe go give Sea of Thieves another try. If you tried at the beginning, don't let that be the final straw. Go try it again. At number 9, let's get all the redemption arc stories out of the way. No Man's Sky. I still cannot to this day believe how much of a comeback this game has experienced. When it was released, it was one of the biggest controversies in gaming history because of all of the broken promises and missing features to the game. But over the last 8 or 9 years, it's crazy to say 8 or 9 years, No Man's Sky has been updated countless times to not only add all the missing content from the original version, but to also add a ton of additional goodies and performance features. You have a next-gen patch, makes it run like a dream on PS5. If you're looking for a fantastic sci-fi open-world survival game, it's right here. Especially if you're looking for something to play with friends. You'll fly across the galaxy, explore different planets, discover different alien species. You will have unforgettable moments that you cannot get in any other game. I never thought I would be sitting here in 2025 recommending No Man's Sky after I got burned by the original version back in 2016, but here we are. I still don't condone games releasing broken and then fixing themselves later, but I'm not going to deny how great of an experience No Man's Sky is right now. I can confidently say it's one of the best open world games on the PS5 as of the making of this video. At number 8, Dragon's Dogma 2. This was one of Capcom's biggest games of the 2020s so far, which is saying a lot because Capcom, well, they've been on a roll this generation. This is an intense dark fantasy RPG with an in-depth character creator. You have tons of NPCs to interact with. You have tons of stories to influence. And you have this unique gameplay loop that you really honestly can't get anywhere else. You'll make a custom character from a list of tons of different classes that will totally change the way you experience your combat. You'll then venture around this huge open world, make a name for yourself, get into epic battles with monsters, dragons, and whatever. And some have criticized Dragon Dogmas 2 for being too much of a rehash from the first game. But if you didn't play the original, guess what? It's going to be a totally new experience, even if you did play the original. I think the sequel has more than enough new content material to justify its existence, especially when you consider how freaking huge and heavily detailed this map is. So, if you're looking for a fantasy RPG that's a little out of the ordinary in terms of combat and moment-to-moment gameplay, this may be it. At number 7, Rise of the Ronin. Now, there's been a lot of hype around the gaming world about Ninja Gaiden recently because of the re-release of Ninja Gaiden 2 and the announcement of Ninja Gaiden 4 coming later this year. But the developers behind the franchise, Team Ninja, had a completely new game come out last year, and it was overshadowed by other games that dropped around the same time, which I think is a little unfair because it's a good game. Rise of the Ronin dropped on the PS5 in March of 2024. You play as a custom character during the Boshin War. You'll venture around a recreation of mid-19th century Japan while also meeting various characters, create various alliances, get into this super addicting combat loop with a pretty large lineup of weapons to play around with. Rise of the Ronin was dismissed by many upon release because of the visuals and the animations, but the gameplay is top-notch. And I think you can get it on sale right now, so give it a try. At number 6, rising up the charts fast, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. It is making a solid case for being Game of the Year right now. Hardcore action RPG with a heavy emphasis on NPC interaction. You have dialogue choices, combat mastery, everything. It takes place in the Kingdom of Bohemia in the early 1400s. It is this super dedicated game to historical accuracy, which is pretty awesome to see from a video game of this scale. Now, the combat can be frustrating at first, but once you get the hang of it, It's actually pretty fun. The main appeal of this game comes from all of the amazing NPC interactions and absolutely gorgeous world. This game is one of the best reviewed games of the year so far. Certainly going to be a heavy contender for Game of the Year once we reach the end of the year, so play it now while all the hype is still hot. But understand, this is an in-depth game. Now we arrive at the top 5. Cyberpunk 2077. Now, even though Cyberpunk had one of the worst launches in gaming history, especially for a single-player game, it made an amazing comeback, had all the patches, updates, fixed almost all the bugs, while also adding a ton of additional content and fine-tuning the gameplay. Now, granted, I still think CD Projekt Red should have just held on to the game for another year or two and then released it when it was ready. But we can't do anything about that. It's in the past. Cyberpunk has a very interesting gameplay and customization style, along with a very super intriguing story and extremely unique presentation and open world design. It's not quite at the level of a certain other CD Projekt Red game, but you should definitely give it another try if you've been holding off over the last few years, or if you're like me and you got burned in the beginning. It runs great on the PS5. Definitely the game it should have been on day one. At number 4, Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. When the team behind the infamous games announced they were making this open-world samurai game, people were a little skeptical, but thankfully, the wait paid off. The game we got was amazing. Ghost of Tsushima originally dropped on the PS4 in 2020. It was then re-released on the PS5 the following year as the Director's Cut, which featured new content and a bunch of new features. He plays a samurai, of course, trying to protect his island from the first Mongol invasion of Japan in the late 1200s. The game starts off slow, it does, but once it opened up and gives you access to all the tools and mechanics, it's one of the best open world games of the generation. I've even heard people say this is the best PlayStation exclusive of the PS4 era. While I don't know if I would agree with that, I do understand where the people are coming from. Combat, satisfying. Presentation, incredible. Story, solid. World, super unique. I honestly can't wait to see what Sucker Punch is cooking up with the sequel, because if it's just half as good as the original, it's going to be a great game. At number 3, Elden Ring. From Software's open world masterpiece from 2022 is still as good today as it was when it launched. In fact, it's arguably even better now than it was before, since it's received its long-awaited expansion, Shadow of the Erdtree. Elden Ring is an open-world Souls-like game that perfectly translates that gameplay loop of the Dark Souls trilogy to this huge map, while also bringing in some mechanics and ideas from other FromSoft games like Bloodborne. The end result is a phenomenal experience. It's one of the most immersive and rewarding games of all time. Definitely going to be frustrating at first, because this is absolutely not a game that holds your hand or eases you into things, but it is a game that gives you tons of freedom with how you want to build your character and how you want to tackle each challenge. There's so many different unique builds that people have made for Elden Ring, and the openness of the map mixed with the organic exploration honestly makes for a truly one-of-a-kind experience. Even if you don't like Souls-like games, I encourage you to give Elden Ring a try. It is deserving of every bit of the praise it's garnered. At number 2, Spider-Man Remastered. Now, there have been 3 games in Insomniac's Spider-Man series. This might be a hot take, but I actually think the remaster of the 2018 game is still the best entry. Spider-Man Remastered is this massive upgrade to the 2018 original. It refines everything. The gameplay beefs up the visuals, adds a ton of extra collectibles, suits, side missions. The gameplay of Spider-Man Remastered is some of the best we've ever seen in a Spidey game. Features super varied combat, extra smooth swinging. I mean, you go through this massive open world recreation of New York that's absolutely jam-packed with Marvel Easter eggs. And the story of the game, it's really what gets it the spot on the list over the sequel. Spider-Man 2018 was one of the best Spider-Man stories ever told. It mixed the lighthearted action, the intrigue of the character, you had the grounded emotion that may or may not draw a tear out of a player once it was all said and done. Spider-Man 2 may have been more varied with the gameplay and a bigger map, but Spider-Man Remastered plays great. Still a top-tier story to keep you going. To me, that's more than enough to get the number 2 spot on today's list. And at number 1 today, the best PS5 open world game right now has to be The Witcher 3. It's hard to go wrong with a classic fantasy RPG from CD Projekt Red. Plus, with The Witcher 4 in development, there's never been a better time to play this game for the first time or replay it so you can refresh yourself on the world and story. Jump in. The Witcher 3 is an extremely well-written game, pulls off the amazing feat of making almost all the side quests feel just as important as the main plot. You play as a monster hunter for hire. You venture around the world. You do various jobs. You try to track down his missing adopted daughter who's being chased by this mysterious force called the Wild Hunt. The open world is gorgeous. It's one of the most immersive in gaming history because of the memorable landscapes, the monsters, the NPCs, the gorgeous soundtrack. I mean, there's so many moments throughout the plot that absolutely tug at your heartstrings. The Witcher 3 is one of the greatest games ever made. And even though it's almost a decade old at this point, I think it's the best open world game available on the PS5 as we speak. A couple years ago, CD Projekt Red released this huge next-gen patch that makes the game look and play even better than it did before, so jump into the game if you haven't. And if it's been a while since your last run, you won't regret it, and it'll get you ready for The Witcher 4. There you have it, my friends. Let me know one PS5 open world game that was deserving to be on this list, but it didn't make it, and I'll see you soon.